learned the most important lesson of my life on the first day of the first grade. That lesson wasn't share your crayons or don't hit. That lesson was that I came from Mars. I learned this lesson while being shown around the classroom. I was feeling a piece of science equipment when a boy in my class said, "Hey, don't touch that. It's for smart people." This is one of my sharpest childhood memories, because it was the day I realized that I would never fit in with other kids. Let me back up a few years. I was born with a type of cancer called retinoblastoma, which develops on the retina of the eye. I had it in both eyes. My left was removed, and I received cancer treatment when I was a baby, and then the retina of my right eye detached twice at the age of 3. I was left with very little vision. The little I had continued to decrease until I was 13. I've been totally blind ever since. So you see, what that boy meant wasn't that the equipment was for smart people. He meant that it was for people with sight. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that my childhood was so hard, because I had it pretty good. My family members were healthy, happy, and supportive. I lived in Canada, which had its benefits. My grades were excellent, and I was good at sports. I did well in the spelling bee, and I won international Braille literacy competitions. Braille is a tactile method of reading and writing for the visually impaired. I even took a ceramics course in junior high and found that I was not too shabby when working with my hands. The main thing I really struggled with was making friends. High school was definitely the worst. I was that kid who hung out with the teachers at lunch because no one my age wanted to sit with me. I wasn't exactly brimming with confidence, but I didn't have any severe self-esteem issues either. And yet, I walked out of that school thinking there was something wrong with me. Am I weird? Maybe I'm funny looking. God knows my mom wasn't going to tell me I was ugly. But all jokes aside, I walked out of that school feeling as though I was nothing. Some good news. When I graduated from high school, I moved here to Lebanon. That's not the good news. At least, I didn't think it was anywhere near good news at the time. But then I started studying at AUB. My life flipped. Did I magically become the most popular girl around? No way. But for the first time, people were willingly talking to me. More importantly, I made friends. AUB is, to my pleasant surprise, the first place I've ever felt like I belonged. So there you go. That's the good news. The question that naturally comes to mind next is, does the Martian status that I acquired in the first grade still apply if I found happiness at AUB? The answer, I'm afraid, is yes. Example. About a year ago, a young man came up to me and said that he would like to pray for Jesus Christ to heal me. All religious beliefs aside, there is one fundamental issue with this scenario. He knew nothing about my life aside from the fact that I'm blind. Based on this fact, he assumed that I must be unhappy. He said, without words, that my life is not worth living the way it is. Full disclosure. Normally, I keep my emotions to myself. But after he walked away, I found a place to sit down, and I cried in a way that I had not cried since I left my miserable high school experience behind. That simple gesture that he meant out of kindness hurt. If he had taken the time to get to know me, he would have learned that I am content with my life and that I have so much hope for the future. Most importantly, he would have learned that my visual impairment, a seemingly impossible challenge to him, is simply an obstacle I know I have the ability to overcome. The issue was not that he offered to pray for me, but that the only thing he saw was my disability. That so often happens. My disability becomes my entire identity. I am not my visual impairment. I am Rima. I am a master's student. I am an avid reader. I am a daughter. I am a sister. I am a friend. I am so many things. I am not my visual impairment. I have a visual impairment. That distinction can make a world of difference. So why was that all he saw? Him, the boy in the first grade, and others like them. An answer came to me not too long ago. It's quite simple, really. They were limited to only one perspective, their perspective. This is human nature. We can't really understand something we've never experienced. This whole time, I've been talking about being treated like a species from another planet. But all I mean when I say Martian status is actually exclusion. It's hard to find a job, a group of friends, or even a meaningful relationship if people are awestruck when I do simple things, because they'll worry they need to babysit me through anything more difficult. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we can end exclusion of people with disabilities by focusing on the following. When we feel inspired by someone with a disability, we must ask ourselves if they would still be inspiring minus the disability. If the answer is no, we may be causing that person more harm than we realize. I've faced a great deal of exclusion in my life on account of my disability, and I'm likely to face more. Being treated like a novelty never made much sense to me, though. The way I see it, I'm just your average 22-year-old with a point to prove and a bit of an attitude. So let's start promoting inclusion of people with disabilities in society. You never know. The person you need most might just be the Martian in the room. Thank you.